What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for tapping in when you saw this video. Credit goes to the original creators, and quick disclaimer, this is just for educational purposes, right? So imagine sitting in church and hearing a so-called man of God calling Black people bestial, murderers, and violent people who still kill and destroy. Like, this man straight up said that we could come to his church, but we can't bring our culture because according to him, our culture is being violent. And the fact that this man is a pastor, it just goes to show how Christianity has been used as a mask, a cover, right? To cover people's or to hide people's true nature. And that true nature in this case is racism. Let's roll up the clips, and I'll be back with commentary.
Almost, let's say that somebody was coming into our church and they're Black, and would they be eligible for membership in our church? Yes, they of course they would. They'd be eligible for membership in our church. But would they be permitted to participate in, embody, and practice what I would call Black culture generally in our church? The answer is absolutely not. Why? Because the characteristics that mark Black culture as a generalization, in the same way Paul's talking about Cretans on Crete, they are evil, murderous, violent, bestial people. They steal, they kill, they destroy. They are sinful to the core. They have besetting sins that are like fatherlessness, sexual immorality. They molest children at a high rate. All of any criminal statistic that you could look at, almost pretty much without exception, they excel at them. Black culture.
And it's even interesting. I mentioned it before, but like the Black guy on TikTok, he was saying, he's like, y'all crazy. Like, you talking about this person like it's mental health. He said, that ain't no mental health. That's a demon.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of people are seeing that. Like, this behavior is demonic. To walk up to a white girl.
But yeah.
And to cut her throat.
Because she's white.
Because she's white, and be like, yeah, we got that white girl.
We got that white girl. And when you think about it, you look at that culture and you say, what are the besetting sins and characteristics of it? And then you say, could somebody come in a lawful church membership embodying that culture? No. They have to self-consciously repudiate that culture.
Hey, so apparently we're just saying the quiet part out loud now, huh? And there's really no defending it, and the little hope I have left for humanity wants to say nobody would even try. So let's talk about what culture is. Put simply, culture is a set of beliefs and patterns and symbols that basically sum up how a group of people views and interacts with the world. According to this guy, that includes violence and murder and acting like an animal. That's what bestial means. But of course, anybody who's ever interacted with Black people or just has a number of working brain cells that's not in the single digits, you know that the majority of Black people are just regular citizens. So even though this type of antisocial behavior is definitely a problem in Black communities, it's still something most Black people don't engage in. And if you're going to define a group of people by something that most of them don't do, that's not describing a culture, that's describing a stereotype. And it gets worse, and this is probably going to be long, just fair warning. Because what is a big part of Black culture is, in fact, Christianity. And even though, unfortunately, church attendance across the board is dropping, Black Americans still attend church the most. I bring this up because this guy says that if someone wants to attend his church, then they wouldn't be able to practice Black culture, which he thinks is basically gang culture. But the largest group of churchgoers in the country are Black Protestants, meaning that these churches that they're going to, he thinks, are just allowing criminality and murder and violence to run rampant through their churches, which is insane. And by insane, I mean super racist. Either that, or he thinks that the Black people attending these churches, which is a huge part of Black culture, are also renouncing Black culture because they're not violent, murderous criminals running around in churches, which is racist and stupid. Which is two ways of saying the same thing. Because this is what I need the excuse makers to realize. When somebody says something like that, they're not talking about Ray Ray selling drugs on the corner. Ray Ray's not going to church. When somebody says stuff like that, he's talking about me. He's talking about my wife. He's talking about my parents who've been married for 35 years. He's talking about my pastor and the entire ministerial team that I serve with and do charity work with. He's talking about all the dudes I work with who just go to work, do their 9 to 5, and are just trying to make it through the day. And I can keep going and going until you realize that once there are so many exceptions to the rule, maybe it's just not a rule. But it's not that big a deal because I wouldn't want to go to that church anyway, because I have a feeling he's leading his congregation straight into the pit.
church membership embodying that culture. No, they have to self-consciously repudiate that.
47 black men have been found hanging this year, lynched. The race of men that lynched you are saying you're a bestial race, you're a violent race. Bestial. In case you didn't know, this is bestial. So, is anyone... One of my biggest heartbreaks as a black man is being a black man. Let me explain this. I can't believe I'm one of you niggas. Like, I'm supposed to be the first translucent nigga in this world, because there's no way. When are we gonna man up as a collective? When are we going to say, you know what, let's man the fuck up? To my Africans, this is how every last white Christian sees you. See, the thing I had to learn was there are two gods. There are two Jesus. There are two Holy Spirits. The ones the whites worship is not the one the rest of the world worships. But this is white Christianity. This is what they brought to Africa. This is what they changed and brought to you. This is what you keep regurgitating. This is what you keep teaching your children.
The most dangerous gang in America ain't wearing colors. They're wearing crosses. So every time you call out racism, sexism, xenophobia, homophobia, here come certain folks hiding behind the Bible like it's a bulletproof vest. Well, that's just what I believe. No, baby, that's just what you hate. And you dressed it up in scripture so it doesn't sound nasty coming out of your mouth. See, this is the irony. Christianity at its root is supposed to be about love, compassion, forgiveness. And actually, the loudest ones that call themselves Christians really use the religion as a cover for cruelty. If your religion makes you hate, that's not Christianity. That's evangelical nationalism. That's a cult with a PR team. They weaponize church like it's politics with a pulpit. They tell women their place. They tell immigrants they don't belong. They tell poor people when they're suffering that it's God's will. It's funny how their God's will always protects their power and their pocketbooks. And then they always act shocked when people say that the white church in America has done more harm than good. Because look around, y'all. From slavery to segregation to voter suppression that's still happening today. It's been church pews giving the cover to hate while pastor says, amen. So no, don't confuse that with Christianity. Call it what it is. Evangelical cover for racism, misogyny, and xenophobia. And the wildest part is, they really believe that God co-signs their hate.
While self-hating black preachers and black people confuse black dignity for racial idolatry, this is what a lot of evangelicals secretly think about you. This one is just willing to say it out loud. What he said is deplorable, racist, and wrong, but unfortunately, he has a lot of white and black accomplices that coddle and aid and abet his type of rhetoric. As a matter of fact, I guarantee we're going to see some of that in the comments.
White churches have not just been supported by white supremacy, they have served as its headquarters. I know you don't want to hear that. They have taught white people that oppression is godly and that power belongs to us by divine right. After the civil rights movement, powerful white people, men, saw that their grip was slipping. Black people were winning court cases. Poor people were organizing. Women were demanding rights. How dare we? LGBTQ people were coming out of their closets, and the foundations of white male dominance were cracking. So they thought, what can we use that no one will question? In 1979, Jerry Falwell founded the Moral Majority. He said it was about championing family values. That was a lie. The real trigger was that the IRS had begun revoking tax exemptions for whites-only Christian schools. Those whites-only schools were created specifically to avoid integration. Falwell's own school, Liberty Christian Academy, was one of them. The platform of the moral majority ended up getting built around the issue of abortion. Although that wasn't the original plan, they basically test drove different topics to see which ones would resonate the most with the audience they needed to capture, which was white Americans, white Christian Americans. It had everything to do with maintaining the right to discriminate, yet still enjoy government benefits. This guy named Paul Weyrich, who was a conservative political strategist, he teamed up with Falwell to build a political base. He admitted that abortion had not really motivated white evangelicals until it became politically useful. Their real grievance was losing control over who could sit in their classrooms, walk into their churches, and live in their neighborhoods. Once they realized that abortion could mask their racial panic, they made that their headline issue. They built a movement that turned pulpits into propaganda platforms. Sunday services became political strategy sessions. And that's illegal. You're not supposed to be able to do that at a church if you're getting tax exemption. Ministers told white families that their enemies were not the wealthy elites exploiting their labor. They were not the politicians cutting their wages and stealing their pensions. The churches pointed to the poor, the black, the brown, the queer, the immigrant. Those people are the ones that are taking food out of your children's plate. They told white people they were being persecuted every time they were asked to share. And yes, I understand what it means for me to say this out loud. I know what it means to say that the church, something which is so sacred to so many, has been a central engine of the immoral institution of white supremacy. I know this will upset people. The white church has stood on the wrong side of every fight for justice in this country. Every one. During slavery, it defended human ownership. During Jim Crow, it defended lynching and segregation. Christian church members attended lynchings and brought their children to steep them in that evil. During the civil rights movement, it defended denying benefits to black people. During the rise of Trump, it defended cruelty in the name of religious liberty, as if Trump has a clue. Some churches resisted, yes. There are liberal churches who have a strong history of being on the right side of these issues, but most didn't. Most chose comfort. Even now, white churches help elect leaders who lie, steal, incite violence. They wage war on education. They call justice wokeness as an insult. They are consuming a message that keeps them at the center with the elite in their minds. They choose white power over compassion, over empathy. One share shows you care about setting the record straight. Please share. Next time, I am going to talk about how Donald Trump did not hijack this system. He was groomed into it.
Black people were excluded from white churches and have systematically been excluded from white churches from the beginning of America. We were never allowed to worship together because a lot of the information that was given to black people in the Bible was not the same information that was in the white people's Bible. I know that's hard to understand. I get it, but it's that ridiculous. Yes, we were systematically excluded from white churches. And today, Sundays are the most segregated day of the week. I know it doesn't make sense because you're on a whole other side of the country and you don't actually deal with the same issues when it comes to religion and church and all of that. That is why the church is divided. Thank you for pointing out the hypocrisy. Thank you for pointing out how ridiculous it is that we can't even worship together.
Why have I never in my life seen a white pastor get in their pulpit and say, guys, I want to remind you, this is not a white church. This is the Church of Jesus. Why have I never seen white Christians come online and say we are Christian before we are white? Why have I never seen white people come online, white Christians, to denounce the Masons, to denounce fraternities? Why? When they are the ones who have benefited from whiteness, they have benefited from race. They have killed, they have stolen in the name of whiteness. They have used Christianity in the name of whiteness. So why have they never denounced their white privilege? Why have I never seen these black pastors, these plantation preachers, call out the atrocity of white privilege? Why? You don't find that strange? But your black ass gets online to say that you are Christian before you are black. Your black ass gets online to denounce D9s and fraternities. You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that strange? I'm just asking.
This is exactly what I mean when I say that a lot of these folks weaponize Christianity, right? The Bible preaches love, but here you are, a pastor, describing an entire group of people as animals. It's always the same story, right? White supremacy dressed up in holy robes, right? And I think what hurts the most is knowing that so many people sit under pastors like this every Sunday feeding into this nonsense. They'll never admit it, but racism has always been a part of their religion, and this clip is just proof, right? Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. I really want to know what you think about this. And yeah, I'll see you on my next one.